Good evening, campers. Gather round and let me tell you an ageless tale that has been whispered from one camper to another, around fires just like this one. This is the story of a place called Whispering Pines, where the trees seem to have a life of their own, whispering secrets to those who dare to listen. The nights here are filled with mysterious sounds, things that go bump in the dark and shadows that move when no one's looking. It all started with a group of friends, city folk they were, looking to escape the hustle and bustle of their daily lives. They decided to spend a weekend in the great outdoors, camping and having fun, far away from the noise and lights of the city. They set up camp under the watchful eyes of the towering pines, their laughter echoing through the woods, blending with the natural symphony of the forest. They felt a sense of freedom and adventure, unaware of the ancient secrets that surrounded them. As the night grew darker, the fire crackled and popped, casting dancing shadows on their faces. They shared stories of their lives, their dreams, and their fears, all while roasting marshmallows and enjoying the warmth of the fire. Little did they know, they were not alone. The forest had its own inhabitants, unseen and unheard, watching them from the shadows. The friends were about to discover that Whispering Pines had more in store for them than just a weekend getaway. As the night deepened, a chill settled over the campsite. The air grew colder, and the warmth of the fire seemed to struggle against the encroaching cold. The campers pulled their jackets tighter, trying to ward off the biting chill. The once playful whispers of the wind turned into eerie moans, swirling around them like icy fingers. The trees swayed and creaked, their branches moving like skeletal hands in the darkness. The wind carried with it a sense of foreboding, as if the forest itself was alive and watching. The laughter died down, replaced by a nervous silence. Conversations that once flowed easily now faltered, and the crackling of the fire became the only sound. The campers exchanged uneasy glances, each one feeling the weight of the silence pressing down on them. The campers huddled closer to the fire, their eyes darting around the encroaching darkness. They could feel the night closing in, the shadows growing longer and more menacing. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig, seemed amplified in the stillness of the night. One by one, they started noticing things, strange shadows flickering at the edge of the firelight, shapes that seemed to move and shift just beyond their vision. The shadows danced and twisted, creating eerie patterns that played tricks on their minds. The feeling of being watched by unseen eyes grew stronger. It was as if the darkness itself was alive, filled with unseen presences that observed their every move. The campers' nerves were on edge, their senses heightened by the oppressive atmosphere. A twig snapped in the distance, sending shivers down their spines. The sound echoed through the forest, breaking the silence like a gunshot. The campers froze, their hearts pounding in their chests, as they strained to see what had caused the noise. The night seemed to hold its breath, waiting for what would happen next. The shadows grew bolder, stretching out from the darkness like grasping claws, reaching for the light of the campfire. The forest seemed alive, with every flicker of the flames casting new sinister shapes that crept closer and closer. They danced and swirled, taking on menacing shapes that seemed to mock their fear. The campers huddled closer together, their eyes darting around, trying to make sense of the shifting darkness. Each shadow seemed to have a life of its own, moving with a purpose that sent chills down their spines. One of the campers swore he saw a face peering at them from the darkness, its eyes glowing with an eerie light. He pointed it out to the others, but when they looked, it was gone, leaving only the oppressive darkness and the unsettling feeling of being watched. Their flashlights danced over the trees, but found nothing but the rustling leaves and the ever-present shadows. The beams of light cut through the darkness, revealing only the empty forest, yet the feeling of unseen eyes remained. They called out, but their voices were swallowed by the night. The wind picked up, howling through the trees like a banshee, and the temperature plummeted. The once warm night turned bitterly cold, and the campers shivered, pulling their jackets tighter. The forest seemed to close in around them, the howling wind carrying whispers that sent shivers down their spines. Then came the incident that shattered their fragile courage. A heavy silence fell over the campsite, broken only by the pounding of their hearts. And then they heard it. A blood-curdling scream that echoed through the woods, followed by the sound of something heavy crashing through the undergrowth. As the scream drew silent, a new sound could be heard, a deep guttural growl that rumbled and seemed to echo off the pines. Panic now seized the campers. They scrambled to their feet, their eyes wide with terror. Something was out there, something unseen and terrifying. Fueled by adrenaline and driven by primal fear, they abandoned their campsite. They didn't stop to gather their belongings, their only thought to escape the nightmare that had enveloped them. They ran through the woods, their breath coming in ragged gasps, the sound of their pursuer close behind. The trees seemed to reach out for them, their branches like skeletal fingers scraping against their skin. They stumbled and fell. Thorns tore at their flesh as they fled, terror fueling their desperate flight through the dark woods. The campers emerged from the woods, breathless, shaken and battered, the first rays of dawn painting the sky with a fragile light. They never returned to Whispering Pines, the memory of that night forever etched in their minds. Some say, if you listen closely on a quiet night, you can still hear the echoes of their terror in the whispers of the wind. You may be wondering, whatever came of the shadows in the dark? Nothing was ever found, not even tracks, but every year or two, a new wild story comes out about a camping trip in the pines gone wrong. Some shadows never truly leave. Who's ready for snacks?